Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the second shelf and to another mid-month check-in, this time for the month of May. Yes, mid-May we are. It's the 18th, so it's a little over half, but, still counts as kind of mid-month. And spoiler alert, my reading in May definitely improved when I compared it to April, which is not surprising because I was sick for more than 2 weeks in April, and sick, like I told you, in a way that I couldn't read. So yeah, I felt the need to really catch up and spend long hours in the evenings and weekends reading, and it was wonderful. It's also a busy time of the year because from beginning of April, that's why, of course, I also had to be sick, just, for good measure, because mid-April, I also start teaching. I always teach a course mid-April to mid-June. So that's a very busy time of the year for me, especially because I have to commute quite a bit to the teaching place. Anyway, books. I'm going to talk about the books in the order that I finished them. And I finished 5 books. So, yeah. The first one was translated fiction on the calculation of volume by Solveig Balle, a Danish author, translated by Barbara Haveland. This book is now shortlisted for the Booker International, and I wouldn't mind it winning. I have read only one other book, I think, on the shortlist. So I don't know how good the other books are. But yeah, I really, really love this book. You could tell already if I don't mind it winning. I had this book on my TBR for quite a while, but the premise kind of had me trepidatious. Because the premise sounded like Groundhog Day. I'm sure you're all familiar with that movie, with the guy waking up every day to the same day and then repeating the same day over and over and over again until, he finds a way to get out of this time loop. And the premise here is that our main protagonist is, I forgot her name, of course, like I always do, Tara or something. Yes, Tara. It's the 18th of October for her. And the book opens when she has experienced this 18th of October 121 times. So, I mean, Groundhog Day is a fun movie. It's kind of a slapstick comedy. But I was unsure whether the theme of repeating really appealed to me. But then Adam, who used to make book videos, Memento Mori, still can be found on Instagram. He told me that this was one of the best books of 2025 he read so far. And I thought, well, okay, now I'm going to try it. And I did not regret it because the book really plays with this idea of the repeating day in a way that is very inventive. I mean, she tweaks the repetitiveness a little bit. So some things, for instance, if she were to buy milk on the 18th of November, and put it in the fridge. Normally, you would say the next day she wakes up, she hadn't bought the milk yet, so the milk is gone from the fridge. But some things stay, and she has no idea of the rules for which items would stay or which items would indeed go back to, the 17th of November. So the playfulness is really interesting, but also the way she uses this premise, the author, uses this premise to talk about, time and our relationship with people, because she lives with her husband and she's on a business trip on the 18th of November. And so I don't want to spoil anything, but don't let yourself be put off because you think, oh, repeating the day over and over again, that's boring. We have seen all of that. No, this is really new and inventive, and I definitely loved it very much. Again, bleeding lipstick, yes, of course. The next one was also a recommendation, this time from Saajid. He has the channel Books Are My Social Life, and he talked about this book last year, I think one of his best reads of 2024 something, and that is a collection of essays by Arundhati Roy, Asadi. The last time I pronounced it Asadi, but obviously that is not the way you pronounce this Urdu word. It's Asadi. It means freedom, and it's about fascism fiction and freedom in the time of the virus. So it's essays from roughly 2017-18 to 2020. The book was published in 2020. And I think I told you before, I struggle with Arundhati Roy's fiction. I want to love it, and it's just not for me for some reason. But so I thought, well, I try her nonfiction, maybe this works, and it did. So this is longer essays that have been published before. Most of them are longer. There are also 2 or 3 very short essays, but most of them are longer. It's also speeches that she gave, and most of them are focusing on politics or the situation in India. So I had to look up a lot of things that she was talking about in her essays, which made me realize how very, very shamefully little I know about the current situation in India. So it was educational. I really liked the sharpness of her argument. She is a person, I always loved watching interviews with her. That's why it's so sad for me that that her fiction doesn't work for me, because she's such an intelligent woman and interesting. Yeah. But anyway, so and brave, by the way, because, she is not sugarcoating anything. So if she feels something is fascism, like the Indian regime at the moment, she calls it fascism. So I'm glad that Saajid talked about the book, that I picked it up, and that I finally found something by Arundhati Roy that I love. And I will go to her backlist and look what other, I know that she wrote a book about Gandhi, and I will just look at her other non-fiction. Yeah. So, Asadi. And then for something completely different, crime fiction, mystery, I read another Linley, Elizabeth George, Believing the Lie. This is number 17 in the Linley series. And if you follow my channel, you know that Heidi and I are making our way through that whole series. There's book 21 has been published now, and in September the next one will come out, and we decided to read one book in the series every other month. So this was for May. The next one we will read in July. And that means that actually next March we will have finished the whole bloody series of 21 or 22 books. So yeah, that's exciting. Anyway, so this is number 17. As always, I can't tell you too much about character developments and things like that, because it's spoilers of the series, but this is a little bit different, because Linley is asked by his boss, who has been asked by a friend, to go to the Lake District, Cumbria, and investigate an accident. So the son of a very rich lord, not a lord for ages, but still, was found dead in the lake after rowing his boat, and obviously he slipped and fell. But the father wants Linley to investigate, so he asks his friend Simon St. James and St. James's wife Deborah to come with him, and he also asks the help of Barbara Havers, who is working her normal police stuff in London. And then the story takes off from there. And it's about family, dysfunctional family. There are transgender issues discussed, gay relationships, but also, as always, or in most of Elizabeth George's books, she talks about the relationship between parents and children. And most of those relationships in her books are dysfunctional. It's no difference here. So there are quite some twists and turns that I can't obviously talk about. And there's a cliffhanger at the end, which made Heidi and I feel like we had to pick up the next book right away, but we won't, because we know it's good to have a break in between. But I'm looking forward to July when we pick up the next one. So Believing the Lie was a good one. It's not my favorite for all kinds of reasons, but it's still a really good one, enjoyable in the series. The next book I read, another non-fiction memoir, and that is Cristina Rivera Garza's memoir, Liliana's Invincible Summer. I'm not talking about the stickers. No. By the way, stickers. I mean, if you do stickers, printed stickers, at least this one is kind of unobtrusive. I mean, I'd rather would not have it, but yeah. But you have stickers here all over the place. National Book Finalist, what have you. Anyway, I read other works by this author. She's a Mexican author, but this book was written in English. She teaches in Houston at the moment. I read a book about Mexico. She writes essays and fiction dealing with the situation in Mexico, especially focusing on the treatment of women, femicide, misogyny, and her sister, her younger sister, Liliana, was killed in 1990 when she was 20 years old by her ex-boyfriend. 30 years have passed. The murderer has fled and has not been caught, so there hasn't been a trial. And now Cristina Rivera Garza decides that she wants to get access to the file, but the file has been lost. So this is, by the way, I read it on Everand because this font is just an abomination, and the white paper, and it feels like, ugh. It feels like the sound when you get your nails across a chalkboard. That's how it feels. So I could not possibly read that. So thankfully it was on Everand, or Script as I still call it, and I read it there. It was not entirely a success for me, because I think that first of all, the subtitle, A Sister's Search for Justice, is kind of misleading, because the whole idea of getting the file is just kind of the frame for this book. It's much more that she goes for the first time in 30 years through her sister's belongings, her notebooks, her diaries. She includes interviews or so-called interviews with friends, with her family, with her father and mother, in order to try to paint a picture of her sister and also address the issue of femicide. And I thought these two very different premises or approaches just didn't fit that well together. And also I felt a little bit like a voyeur reading diary entrances from a murdered woman without her permission. I mean, obviously the sister gives me her permission because she published it, but it just didn't sit that well with me, so which was unfortunate. It's not a bad book, and if you don't have issues with that kind of voyeuristic thing that bugged me, you might still enjoy it, but for me it just did not work, not that well. And then I needed something feel-goody because I had a tough week teaching, and not teaching so much. I have fabulous students, but the commute was horrible, and I had to spend the day that I taught 7.5 hours on the train because of delays and detours. So for the weekend, I definitely needed something that made me feel good, and I finally finished the Wayfarer series with the last one, The Galaxy and the Ground Within by Becky Chambers. Sci-fi, space opera kind of thing. Like I said, this is the last one in the series, number 4, and it's set on Gora. Is it Gora? Yes, Gora, which is kind of a rock, but it's a traffic hub. So you have this 5-hop kind of how would you call that, a road stop that is run by a Laru of the species of Laru with her daughter, and then various aliens, species, non-human sapiens come to 5-hop to just stay there for an hour and then hop on through the next wormhole. But then an accident happens and they are stuck. So you have the typical Becky Chambers, various sapiens who look very different, who have very different cultures, trying to get along with each other, being curious about certain things, discussing history, having clashes because they have very different opinions about history. So it's not fluff. Becky Chambers is not fluff, but it's still feel good. And it was just wonderful. I loved it. So, and I finished the series. So yeah, me. So those are the books that I finished. I'm currently still reading this one, The Shapeless Unease by Samantha Harvey, a nonfiction memoir about her year where she couldn't sleep. But I didn't sleep well last 2 weeks. And so I didn't want to, in addition to having trouble sleeping myself at night, I didn't want to read about it during the day. So I put it down for a bit. I will pick it up, hopefully soon. Not sure whether I will finish it in May, but I will pick it up soon. And I'm also reading Trieste by Dasha Drindic, translated from the Croatian by Ellen Elias Burzac. Dasha Drindic was obviously Croatian author. She died way too young a couple of years back from cancer. I met her a couple of times because we share the same publisher, not this one, but another translation. I'm reading this with Adam from Memento Mori, and it is set in Trieste mostly, or the surroundings, and it deals with a woman, Haya, who had a relationship during the 1940s with an SS officer, and she was pregnant, had a child, but the child was abducted. And the book is a combination of fiction and non-fiction, trying to grasp. I'm just looking whether I can find this long list of names. Yeah, there is long 20 pages, 9,000 names of the victims of the Holocaust, the Italian victims. So it's a combination of fiction and non-fiction, and we are almost done, and I will talk about this in more detail when I read it. But so far, I think it's a really, really good book. Anyway, little long, over 19 minutes, this one, almost 20 when I'm done. But I hope you still enjoyed it. Thank you very much for watching. I'm looking forward to your comments as always, and I will see you all soon in the next one, next Sunday.